Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of emerald wool tumbled from a market stall awning, clocking her shoulder like destiny with a sense of humor. 55 years old, 3 months stateside, and New York kept hurling surprises, this one softer than most. She pocketed it, grinning. That night, under a flickering kitchen bulb, she cast on stitches, each loop a silent welcome to her frayed nerves. By sunrise, Fam noticed, her scarves weren't just yarn, but lifelines. Soon Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of merino slipped from her lap, unraveling like confidence she'd painstakingly wound tight since moving here. 55 years old and still tripping over subway grates, some things never changed, even if her address did. Back home, wool meant winters by hearth, here, it was a lifeline. She'd started knitting circle on a whim, tacking flyers near Pickle Barrel's Union Square's farmer's market. Stitch by stitch, Fam, she'd scribbled, hoping others like her, women with salt and pepper roots and dictionaries tucked in purses, might come. That first Tuesday, only 2 showed, a Guatemalan grandmother clutching alpaca like a childhood blanket and a Ukrainian widow whose needles clicked like a metronome keeping time in a foreign land. Anna's deepest fear wasn't language barrier but becoming invisible, dissolving into city's hustle like steam from a manhole cover. Yet as yarn pooled between their laps, a tapestry of accents and laughter, she realized assimilation wasn't about shedding her past but weaving it into something new. Merino, once spun on her mother's will, now anchored strangers turned family. By summer, their circle spilled onto park benches, scarves piling up like promises. Anna still mispronounced avocado bodegas, but her hands never fumbled a cast-on. New York, in its gruff way, had handed her a needle, and she'd knit herself right into its seams. Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of merino wool tumbled from her lap, unraveling like her first months in this city. Brooklyn sidewalks had been less forgiving than she'd hoped. 55, where subway turnstiles jammed her tote bags and bodega cats judged her pronunciation of queso fresco. But that day, chasing runaway yarn down a farmer's market aisle, she collided with destiny, or least, with Josefina's basket of hand-dyed alpaca. Josefina, a septuagenarian from Oaxaca with a laugh like rustling leaves, didn't scold over spilled kombucha. Instead, she eyeballed Anna's half-finished scarf, a lopsided thing with more dropped stitches than a country western breakup, and declared it brave. By sundown, she found herself wedged between Josefina's hydrangeas and a Ukrainian grandmother named Galina, who knit booties while recounting Soviet-era fabric rationing. Their circle wasn't fancy, just folding chairs and a thermos of chai passed like a peace pipe, but it stitched together more than wool. Anna's hands, once stiff with loneliness, now flew through cables and brioche, each loop a tiny rebellion against invisibility. She learned to trade Malice Hierba's remedies for Galina's beet borscht tips, to decipher quiet pride in Josefina's shrug when locals mistook her shawls for boutique finds. Even her mistakes became inside jokes, a misread pattern birthed Brooklyn twist, an accidental scallop edge that Fam adopted as their signature. By time cherry blossoms gummed up sidewalks again, Anna's skeins had deepened beyond fiber. They were lifelines tossed across language barriers, kind that snagged on shared laughter when her pronunciation of pierogi came out closer to parakeet. And when new faces hesitated circle's edge, clutching yarn like worry beads, she would pat empty seat beside her, one with wonky leg that wobbled just enough to break ice. City hadn't softened, but Anna had. She knit her way into its seams, one stubborn, glittery, mismatched stitch a time. Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of merino wool tumbled from her lap, unraveling like her confidence on this gray Brooklyn morning. 55 years old and still fumbling, some assimilation expert she was. But stubbornness had carried her through 3 decades in this city, so she scooped up wool, its earthy scent a stubborn reminder of home, and cast on again. Her knitting circle, a ragtag crew of newcomers who'd bonded over dropped stitches and dropped dreams, met every Thursday a sunlit corner of farmer's market. They traded lopsided scarves and lopsided stories, their needles clicking in unison like a secret language. Anna's fam, a Bollywood-loving nurse, a Syrian baker with flowers still dusting her sleeves, a retired Cuban mechanic who knit socks with shocking precision, never judged her mangled pearls or her accent, thick as cables on her sweater. But today, doubt gnawed her. A bureaucrat had eyed her paperwork like it was a botched garter stitch, muttering about missing documentation. Creator had smiled, nodded, then walked home gripping that wool skein like a lifeline. Now, as her needles flew, she replayed encounter. Maybe she should have fought harder. Maybe she'd never belong. Then Baker plopped down beside her, unwrapping a still-warm cubs. "Eat," she commanded, nudging bread toward Creator with an elbow. No English needed. Anna broke off a piece, familiar chewiness anchoring her. Around them, Circle's laughter rose above Market's chatter, mingling with scent of overripe peaches and diesel fumes. Her fingers moved faster, wool transforming row by row. This wasn't just about sweaters, it was about showing up, stitch by stubborn stitch. She'd teach that bureaucrat meaning of grit next time. And if her scarf ended up a little crooked? Well, so was she. Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of merino wool tumbled from her lap onto bustling sidewalk pavement. Brooklyn Farmers Market hummed around her, haggling grandmas, hipsters eyeing organic kale, but her gaze locked onto that rogue twist of crimson yarn. It wasn't just wool. It was her first paycheck after 6 months scrubbing floors, her late husband's chuckle woven into every ply. A gust threatened to send it rolling toward sewer grate. Without thinking, woman lunged, knee popping audibly, and snatched it midair. Nearby teens snickered. One muttered about old ladies losing their sh, until woman straightened, shook yarn like a victory flag, and marched to nearest picnic table. Skein became compass. Fingers flew, casting on stitches with military precision. Marketgoers slowed. A woman in hijab paused, gripping pomegranates. A Jamaican grandma selling jerk spice tilted her head. She didn't see them. She saw her village's lavender fields, her daughter's lost college dreams, immigration forms stamped denied in red. Needles clicked rebellion. Rose grew, not a scarf, not a hat, but a flag. Not any flag. A Frankenstein of stripes and stars and embroidered Cyrillic, "We belong here." Someone gasped. Phones lifted. Skeptic from next stall, a butcher who'd scoffed her dumb knitting club for noobs, dropped his sausage tongs. Wool burned in Anna's palms, alive. This wasn't craft. It was cavalry charge. By sunset, #YarnBombJustice trended locally. News vans arrived as she pinned last stitch to community board. Reporters asked about statement art. She wiped flour dust from wrinkled cheeks, smirked. Nyet. Just warming cold city with cold hands. Butcher brought her kielbasa next week. For guts, Babsha, he grunted. Knitting circle tripled. And when mayor's office invited her to teach, she mailed them mittens, one sized for paperwork, other stitched too small. Inside, note, "Fix immigration, then we talk." Laugh lines deepened as new members arrived, Syrian, Dominican, Korean, each clutching their own tangled skeins of hope. Anna's needles never slowed. This, she thought, is how we unravel no and knit yes. Farmers Market now saves her table. Even teens nod respect. One filmed her fixing a dropped stitch while blindfolded, hardcore, granny. Anna just winks. Wool's her mother tongue now, and whole cities learning to speak it. Anna's calloused fingers froze mid-stitch when a skein of emerald wool tumbled from her lap. Around her, needles clicked in sync, a symphony of resilience. Brooklyn Farmers Market bustled beyond their circle, but here, under a faded awning, newcomers stitched belonging into every row. 55 and fierce, Anna had arrived with just 2 suitcases and a lifetime of stubborn hope. Knitting had been her anchor, until it became a lifeline for others. She'd started with scarves, then hats, then a quiet revolution. Her odd habit? Whispering puns into yarn, knit happens, as she guided trembling hands through pearl stitches. Months blurred. Skeins piled up like shared stories. A Ukrainian grandmother crafted mittens with wildflower motifs. A Guatemalan teen turned tangled threads into geometric totes sold market stalls. Each piece carried whispers of home, defiance against displacement. Anna's wool symbol had grown, no longer just comfort, but currency of connection. One frosty morning, she unfurled a collaborative tapestry their booth, a mosaic of stitches, languages, and resilience. Tourists paused. Locals nodded. A city known for its hustle softened edges. Anna grinned. Assimilation wasn't about shedding skin, it was weaving new layers. Grab your needles, craft belonging, one stitch at a time.